recovery attempt, and maybe that account recovery attempt says something like, hey, were you logging into Germany for some reason? Now, what happened was the yeah, no feed. There's no audio feed. No, all right, we got audio feed. All right, good. Say, we're live, folks. There's no going back. So the deal was the phishing email then was denied the request to attach the Google account recovery attempt. And then what happened was about 40 minutes later, the Microsoft employee got a phone call, and it was from Google Sydney. That's what showed up on the caller ID. So the employee forgot about it. And then about a week later, the same exact process happened all again, except this time the Microsoft employee actually picked up the phone, and it was an American voice, very polite, very professional. And it seemed to be an AI voice, but the number was Australian. And it actually, when he Googled it, he found out that it was a Google number. It was a phone number attached, I believe, to Google Maps. So what's going on here is the question. And this was the actual spoofed email. And look at that. Check that out. Says Google at internalcasetracking.com was the phishing email. And again, if you're just going through your day really fast, you don't even notice it. The recap of the phone call that came with that was the caller seemed legit, very courteous, very professional on the phone, super realistic voice. And that's a problem with voice AI. It sounds so legit right now and very hard to disseminate if you're getting a voice AI call or not. Now, the way it works with these Gmail account takeover attempts, number one, you got to realize you probably did not initiate the call. Google does not call their Gmail users ever unless you have a business profile. And the email and the to address, you really got to inspect those things. And of course, the email headers were spoofed as well. So there you have it. You've got to be really on top of things. Share this with your employees. I recommend printing out the slide, putting it up in your break room, and make sure they're aware of these Gmail account takeovers. Okay, the other thing going on is this business email compromise awareness notification that came out from Microsoft. They're saying that there's a growing use of file hosting services. So we're talking about things here like OneDrive, Dropbox, SharePoint, Google Drive. Now, this is a very complex attack structure. Please bear with me. I'm going to do my best to try to explain this in under 60 seconds here. But Microsoft is seeing a bunch of trends in phishing campaigns that are basically exploiting these legitimate file hosting services. And this started around mid-April of 2024. So what happens is the attacker will compromise a trusted vendor such as OneDrive or Dropbox, and then they're going to start to do these password spray attacks. And as they do them, they're going to eventually figure out they can get into somebody's account. And then what they're going to do is create a malicious file in the Dropbox account. From there, the attacker will start to share the file. The challenge you have with these Dropboxes and OneDrives out there is a lot of them are approved for use in businesses. So if the business is not aware that the employees are accessing these files on these Dropboxes, then there's a good probability of the threat actor getting in through the doorway. There's a lot more to it. The one challenge with this thing is how it actually takes place. You have the phishing URL. You probably have anti-bot filtering in your email environment. And then what you have is this phishing page. The recipient will attempt to access the shared file that was in the phishing, and they will try to verify the identity. That's what happens next. By providing their email address, they get that one-time password sent to their email. Then their redirect happens. The redirect is what's known as an adversary in the middle phishing page, all right? And that's where the password gets stolen and the two-factor authentication tokens get stolen. So how do you stop this stuff? There's a couple things you can do, and I put some notes here on the page, on the screen here. You can enable conditional access policies in Microsoft Entra. You can implement continuous access evaluation. You can do passwordless sign-ins, okay? So you have a couple options here to prevent this type of stuff from happening. But we mentioned this last week. Do you guys remember Mamba? We talked about Mamba, which is, again, bad guys, they're now giving away their phishing tools, their phishing as a service tools, completely low priced. We're talking like Temu pricing, all right? Phishing as a service for bad guys as low as $250 a month, and the hundreds and hundreds of templates completely free that the bad guys can use. We mentioned that in last week's briefing if you want to go take a look at that. Now, how do you identify this, right? How do you educate your employees? Couple things to do here. And by the way, shout out to my friend Brandon. He gave me this idea of using Bullet Bill from Mario as my bullets. I love it. Maybe a little bit distracting. Let me know in the comments. All right. But number one, you got to look for existing conversations. So the bad guys know that prior interactions is one tool, one doorway in with these shared files. So they might say, hey, here's the audit report. The number two way they do it is through current context. So, for example, impersonating an IT person, maybe impersonating one of your vendors, all right? And then they send a Dropbox file that says IT filing support. Ooh, I got to click on that. Forms related to tax submissions. I better click on that. The third doorway in with these phishing attacks is urgency, and that's the sense of urgency. Again, this is nothing groundbreaking here, but the groundbreaking piece is really taking advantage of a user's trust or a business's trust in things like Dropbox and OneDrive and SharePoint and Google Drive. So there we go. Hope that makes sense. I know it's a lot to take in. Share it with your employees. Okay, another thing happening out there is the Google Play Store. I saw this headline and I knew it was clickbait. I should never have clicked on it, but I clicked on it, and the headline said, "Stop downloading these malicious apps." And I was hoping that they'd have a list of apps in there that I could share with you. They don't. So I corrected their article for them. I fixed it. The problem you have with Google Play Store is the number of permissions that some of these apps are asking for, okay? So you download this game, right? Any game you want, right? And the game says they need to have a one-time password sent via SMS. Oh, no, 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 don't you do that. Don't click on that, all right? Don't install that app. Another problem with a lot of the Google Play apps is the permissions, excessive amount of permissions. I mean, I'm telling you, if you have to give receiving SMS or reading SMS or bind notifications or accessibility, you could turn all of that off in the app. Better yet, be smarter and not even install the app to begin with. Avoid the app entirely. All right. So, for example, I don't even use the Uber app anymore. I stopped using Uber app because I can go right to the Uber website, for example, and get all my information and do all the work I need to do right there. Okay, I hope that all makes sense. I know it's a lot, but again, it's what we do here. We try to share these phishing examples, scams, all in 30 to 60 seconds. So every week we take 2 minutes and we try to talk about something relevant in the world of cybersecurity. This week, I thought it would be interesting if we talked about AI phone scams, because again, that Gmail scam that's going around right now with the fake AI phone call. So how do you know? How do you even identify these AI phone scams? And I'll tell you how easy it is. A couple months ago, I wanted to take my dad's voice, and my dad died a couple years ago, 10 years ago now, and I wanted to see if I could recreate my dad's voice using AI. And all it took was 30 seconds of his voice. That's how fast that a bad guy can take advantage of your business. So here you go. If you have YouTube videos or TikTok videos, all a threat actor needs is 3 to 30 seconds of your voice or your loved one's voice or your child's voice, and then they can recreate the voice. So here we go. Now, we know that sometimes with AI voice cloning, you have irregular pauses, latency issues, weird sometimes sounds that happen in these things. That's one way to identify an audio deepfake. But there's a couple other things you could do. For example, you could always ignore calls. I know most of us, we don't even pick up the phone anymore, right? But if you do get a phone call from a number that says your bank, for example, chances are you might pick it up. So what I recommend is don't pick it up. Verify going to the bank's website, actually getting the number from the bank's website, and then calling that number. Telling your relatives, too, is a great way to identify an audio deepfake, especially with these AI kidnapping scams. My daughter is trapped in a prison in Mexico, trapped by the cartel right now, right? And they're asking for $10,000. How do you verify that? Well, you call your relatives, too. Did my daughter really go to Mexico, right? Is she still there? I thought she came back yesterday. Sometimes a code word is very helpful too. Our family has a code word, so I'm not going to share what that code word is, but it's a pretty good code word. You would know if you called our family because we would use an awesome code word. Asking for specific details is another way to identify that the AI call is a scammer. It's a deep fake. So, hey, last night we had dinner at so-and-so at Olive Garden or Applebee's. Do you remember that? What did you have for dinner? Do you remember? I can't remember. That's one way to identify it. And of course, the number one way is minimize your digital footprint. That's so hard to do nowadays, right? Because with the Facebooks and the MySpaces of the world, right? I know MySpace. We are a MySpace home here. That's why we have all these animated GIFs. It's a tribute to MySpace, folks. All right. So insider threat news. There wasn't much in the world of insider threats this week, but I thought we'd take a moment and talk about social media accounts because it's the weak link in a lot of businesses. And a lot of businesses have no idea who has access to social media in their business. And there's two areas that you need to have visibility into. Who in your company has access to the public-facing pages of your company? So where do you post your content, your engagement? And number two, who controls the advertising account? So this is where if you're boosting campaigns on Instagram or you're running targeted ad campaigns, you're generating leads, who has access to those things? So here are 3 risks that come from social media. Number 1, reputation damage. Always know that it's dispersed access. You may not know who has access. Who are all the people that have access to all your social media platforms for your business? Make sure that you know who you have an inventory of those folks. Number 2 risk is poor governance of your social media accounts. This was when things go wrong, you start finger pointing. You got to have visibility. Do an access inventory of everyone in the company. And number 3 risk is account mismanagement or resource misuse. So we're talking about, these payment mechanisms inside all of these social media platforms. You got to know who's using them. You also have to know that they're properly configured with the right users and the right permission. All right. By the way, we also want to talk about this favorite month of ours, October, Security Awareness Month. It's almost over. It's half over, folks. So simple ways. We mentioned this in the last briefing, but if you missed it, Secure Our World is the top website to discuss Security Awareness Month. They have so many free tools on their site. And all you have to do is take one of those ideas and share it in your startup meetings, post it in your employee break room. So much shareable content. It's ridiculous. All right. And they talk about things like securing your house, your family, your business. If you're a software developer, securing your products, all of that is available for free on their website, Secure Our World. And of course, we here at SecurityMetrics, we offer a podcast. Our podcast this month is about episode 104, Parent-Child Online Safety. Excellent job, Jen Stone. Experience. And we do have these shorts. Again, these are fantastic shorts, 30 to 60 seconds. We try to explain all of these different cyber news that's happening out there, latest phishing scams, and they are available to share with your team as well. Of course, we would not be forgetting our PCI education stuff. That is what we do here. We are so good at PCI education, and we have so many great videos online. This is episode 8 of the requirement 8, which is about user authentication and access. Very important stuff. And all of this short little video, we try to explain requirement number 8 to you. And of course, this week, and this entire month, we're giving away these key fob Faraday bags. These are what I'm talking about. I did a prior episode about how easy it is for a bad guy to steal your car. You're getting in and out of your car. You're going into a restaurant or a parking lot, and you put your keys in this little bag, and of course, it'll block the signal so the threat actor cannot record your key fob. And we're going to give away. All you have to do is like or comment and leave some feedback to us. Share your favorite cyber tip for Cyber Awareness Month, and we will get you one of these bags shipped to you. Okay, next week, we are going to talk about how to protect and opt out your baby and child photos on the internet. Very important topic, and it's not discussed very often. So we're going to take a brief 2 minutes and talk about that next month. And if you want all of these links, everything can be found in our weekly intelligent news feed. It is pretty intelligent, guys and gals. It has all of the top cyber news, the cyber breaches, all the vulnerabilities that were announced this past week. And you could subscribe to that and get all of these links that we talk about in the briefing. Okay, so what reports every month? Every week, our industry puts out reports. Some of them are garbage, but some of them are pretty good. I like this report from Coalition. I love the cover. It reminds me of Mary Blair. You guys remember Mary Blair? She was, Disneyland. It's a Small World, right? All these different little images all put together. Why is this report good? Well, Coalition, they're talking about here cyber insurance claims, and the average ransomware loss right now is at $353,000. That's a lot. Boy, 40% of all of their policyholders actually paid the ransoms, which is shocking. And there's a jump. There's a spike in the ransomware severity for these businesses. They said that larger businesses are actually doing increased paydays. They're being targeted a lot more. No crap. We knew that. And of course, ransomware claims, they're saying that if you have less than $25 million in revenue, you can expect to pay about $70,000, your average claim. So that is pretty fascinating insights from Coalition. That report you can find on our links. And as well, Cloudflare puts out a report, the DDoS report. This is the 16th edition. I can't believe now, 16 times they put out this book. It is, if you are experiencing DDoS or concerned about DDoS attacks, this is your Bible, your go-to guide for learning more. Interesting stuff. They said that the HTTP DDoS attacks are down 20%. Application layer attacks, they crossed 100 million requests per second. Woohoo! That's a lot. And the network layer is where you really want to put your focus and your emphasis. According to them, they're saying it's an 85% increase in network layer DDoS attacks. So put your focus there. So great insights, by the way. Thank you, Coalition, and thank you, Cloudflare. So we mentioned social media accounts, and we mentioned how important it is to protect your business. Again, I can't stress this enough. It's an area of visibility that most companies don't have insights into. Obtain the visibility, folks, into your social media accounts. So there was a couple patches and vulnerabilities in the news, just a couple. No, actually a lot every week. And if you don't have automated patch management in your company, man, it's tough. It really is. So the news last week was insane with patching, but it's like a snowball effect. The winter is coming. Winter is coming. And here it is. Business owners, start planning now. I know. Microsoft Windows 10 is being deprecated. You have until October of 2025. And they're saying it's a nightmare. Everywhere I look on Reddit, people are saying this is nuts. It's the home users more than anything that are unwilling. A lot of them just can't afford to upgrade to a new operating system to Windows 11 here. So, and unless you're a small business owner or a medium business owner and you can afford the support contract to extend it out a little bit, you got a big burden on your hands. So start planning now what you're going to do, how you're going to end of life Windows 10 for your business. But more importantly, there were a lot of other vulnerabilities in the news, and so many. We don't have time to talk about all of these, but Palo Alto is one I need to call out to you. You're talking about exposure to firewall credentials. The SolarWinds Web Help Desk was a CISA announcement this past week. Very important stuff. Again, WordPress is in the news. GitHub, Firefox bug is being exploited right now against Tor. A couple other things going on is sysadmin news. Oh, man. The Microsoft patches for Power Platform, Imagine Cup Site, and Dataverse. I like saying that, Imagine Cup Site. Oracle patching, over 200 vulnerable. What? I know, 334. Oh my gosh. That is a lot. I think we need to remember that it is System Admin Appreciation Day. Please save the date. It is July 25th, 2025. Your sysadmins, they may need a free pizza this week from CrowdStrike to get over this week. And of course, Reddit. Wow, man. They were throwing the shrapnel. I think I needed a flat jacket to surf Reddit this past week. The rage over Apple, and they're claiming that they are going to lower the SSL TLS certificate lifespans down to just 45 days is driving the admins nuts. And by the way, remember Google, what Google said is they're going to say that the maximum validity period for Chrome is going to be down in 90 days. So again, hug your system admin folks. Hug them. They need all the love that they can get this past week. Oh man, we're going to do case studies. I love the case study stuff. We'll get to Charles here in just a minute, but I do need to mention we do have this shopping cart monitor. Every week we're going to feature one of our shopping cart use cases. This one is talking about ad networks on payment pages. And we get a lot of clients that say, hey, I've got these ads in my shopping cart. There's nothing wrong with them. And we have to always remind our clients that it is all the extra JavaScript code that is running inside the shopping cart that can be bad. And minimizing the use of all those third-party scripts is a really important thing, especially for the new PCI requirement, which is inspect your shopping cart. All right, that's what we do around here. So Charles, help me out, by the way. What's this use case all about?
Is a threat that we found for this client. We were initially looking and we suddenly saw this new device show up on the network. So brand new
What's this
IP,
use
no
case all
history,
about?
and just showed up one day and immediately started sending out a threat that we found millions upon millions of requests over SMB ports to known malware C2 nodes, so command and control. All of this, we looked at it and just everything was flashing red saying, yep, this is malware. This is something trying to communicate out and possibly trying to go further on the network.
Yeah. What happens in the kill chain is where, Charles?
So at this point, it's communicating with command and control node. This may be something like a device installed on the network or a new device compromised, but something is in the network and it's very critical and needs to be taken care of immediately.
It's always amazing to me how fast, these new devices come into a business, and businesses don't have any endpoint protection software. They have no visibility into these new devices. We'll talk more about that here, and especially in another use case coming up about a medical client of ours. But let's
gaslighting for a moment. My favorite segment. Well, every week my favorite segment changes, doesn't it? But gaslighting is the one time where we get to vent. We get to just get the crap off our shoulders from this past week, folks. So calm down, TechCrunch. Calm down. TechCrunch put out this article this week. Americans are still using Kaspersky antivirus despite the government ban and the removal of the app from the Google Play Store. And, I got to tell you, if you were on Reddit this past week, you probably were going nuts reading stuff like this. And, TechCrunch went out, their reporter said, well, why? Why is your business still using Kaspersky? I don't think they understand what it's like to step inside a business owner's shoes. And that's one thing that all of our folks here try to do, have empathy for the business owner, understanding that to get rid of something in your environment that you've paid a good deal of money for and you have a contract with is really hard to do. But, some people on Reddit were saying they're skeptical of this ban. They're saying it's not real. I mean, it's just insanity out there, folks. So again, we could certainly empathize with the business owner that says, I cannot get rid of Kaspersky yet. I have to wait until the contract ends or until I have a new vendor that I've checked out and verified. Okay. Oh, man, this is the one story that really, knucklehead alert, knucklehead alert, national public data. Do you guys remember these jokers? These are the ones that this company is known for background checks, but the way they get their background information is they do a lot of data scraping, and that's the kind of stuff that ticks me off, all right? 272 million unique Social Security numbers were caught up in this breach. And of course, as soon as the breach came out, the state attorney generals start going after them. You're talking about federal investigations, potential for fines, several class action lawsuits. Paying for credit monitoring is something this company does not want to do. So guess what they did? Yeah, they filed for bankruptcy. Meanwhile, their owners get to keep their mansions in Fort Lauderdale. Unbelievable, folks. This is the kind of stuff that ticks you off as a cybersecurity professional. Getting out of it. All right, the other one that caught my eye was Griffin. Griffin is a healthcare company. They are known for revenue cycle and management services for the healthcare industry. They discovered this back in August 13th. But guess what they did? They waited until a holiday to announce that. They waited till the Columbus Day weekend to announce that they've been breached. Yeah, I hate when they do that too. And then, of course, their breach announcement is very bad. Oh, we take the privacy of our customers very seriously. Okay, right. And then they offer the usual disclosure, right? No reason to believe that your data has been misused yet. Y-E-T, yet. All right. So, by the way, the length of time it took them from when the incident was discovered, August 13th, until just now announcing it is wrong. It's absolutely pure wrong. All right. The Internet Archive was in the news this past week as well. We're talking 3 attacks so far. And it's amazing how much retribution and anger is at the Internet Archive. 31 million users caught up in this breach. I tried going to the Wayback Machine today, which is a site they own, and it did not work. So the Internet Archive, who is angry at the Internet Archive? Well, if you remember, they had that big lawsuit where, they're accused of violating copyrights on books like George Orwell and Ray Bradbury. So there's a lot of potential bad guys out there that do not like the Internet Archive. If you want to learn more about that, we'll include the link on the backstory about the Internet Archive lawsuit and all that other stuff. So these guys can't catch a break. Of course, there is a pro tip for you. I recommend all businesses sign up for Have I Been Pwned. This is the way you learn and find out very quickly if an email address on your domain has been breached or is caught up in a breach. The bad guy with the Internet Archive is this group called SN_Black Meta. They're the ones that are behind that breach. Okay, what else do we got to talk about? The Marriott settlement fired us up this week. By the way, Marriott only having to pay $52 million, even though they've had now 3 data breaches over the course of these 4 years. In all fairness to Marriott, they did do a lot of acquisitions like Starwood Resorts, a big footprint, huge geographical footprint that has to be protected. But, a lot of people are saying $52 million, that's it? This is a $23 billion firm annually, I believe, and they only have to pay $52 million. And then you look at the other things they have to do, and some of the requirements that they have to do, it seems like they should have already been doing it, And then the FTC got involved, and they said, well, here's our requirements from Marriott. And a lot of them are crisscrossing and repeating from the state's requirements of what Marriott has to do. Again, just interesting perception of how this stuff's going down. There were a couple data breaches in the news. As we wrap up the briefing, Casio in the news, a lot of targeting of Japanese companies lately. October 5th, we don't know the threat actor yet. We don't have attribution on that, of how that happened. Pokemon? No, Pokemon breached? Yeah, folks, we're talking about another Japanese company getting breached. 2,600 employees caught up in this, unreleased and upcoming projects supposedly caught up in this leak. All right, we don't know the threat actor yet as of the video recording here, but you got to think back though. Remember Nintendo had that Giga leak from 2018 and 2020? Access Health, they should have had Pulse, folks. I fixed their billboard. Access Health System, 13 states, unknown if patient data was caught up in this yet, but we do have attribution. We do know that it was Reseda ransomware. We'll give you an update as we learn more about how this breach happened. Reseda, by the way, were the ones behind the Columbus, Ohio data breach. And there's a report that came out, and this is what I wanted to talk about for just a moment before we wrap up here. Census put out a report. They're talking about healthcare companies, and if you don't have visibility into DICOM, digital imaging and communications, so we're talking about things like you're talking about the protocols used for MRIs and CT scans, that kind of stuff, and very difficult to put endpoint software on those types of devices. You gotta look after it. And Census says, here are the most common exposed medical interfaces. So thank you to them for sharing the list of what they're seeing out there in the wild right now. Okay, Fidelity in the news, their second data breach. And of course, some other cyber news. The British, UK, they're saying we're going to give away free cybersecurity services for all the schools in the UK. How awesome is that? Man, and that's what we do here with SM, our Pulse platform, helps schools. Imagine if we did that in America. We just gave away help to all the schools completely on the house. The new Australian law caught my eye. Mandatory reporting of ransomware payments. This is the first country in the world to require this. Imagine if the United States required something like that. And then, of course, Volt Typhoon. China says it's the U.S. The U.S. is the ones that did it. They invented Volt Typhoon. I'll tell you, you sit on a throne of lies, folks. All right, some AI news. And museums now are using AI to chat with dead animals. I'd love to chat with a dinosaur. All right, AI is being used for NFL betting, and millions of people, I think it was the New York Post, they said millions of people are creating nude images of anyone in minutes using AI. I don't know about millions, all right? But that's what they're saying. That's what they're claiming in their news. So there you have it, folks. That is our briefing. Of course, like, comment, subscribe. We're giving away these Faraday bags for your key fobs. And as always, next week, how to protect your child, your baby photos on the internet. And as always, if you want the links, you got to subscribe. So there you have it. Thank you for joining us. We're so glad you hung out with us for this time. I hope you have a good one. On behalf of everyone here at SecurityMetrics, thank you for letting us help protect your business. Take care.